You want to talk about food? I want to talk about food. Let's talk about food. what, what else are we going to do? We got nothing else to do. Let's go. What's up, food geeks? Welcome back to another episode of Nikki Talks Food. I am Nikki Pettineo, your host. This is my podcast. This is a podcast where I talk about all things food related. Sometimes I talk about lifestyle stuff. Sometimes I have guests. Today I don't have a guest. But today on the pod, I'm talking about fresh produce versus frozen produce. Why is one better than the other? We're going to do a deep dive and we're going to talk about it because that's what we do. We talk about food. I also have so much to talk to you guys about menu planning. I know that grocery costs are rising. And so I have some tips and tricks for you guys to stay on budget. And then finally, we have to talk about it. It's lifestyle. So I have to talk about Meghan of Sussex, the new show from Meghan Markle on Netflix. So let's get started. Okay, the fresh produce versus frozen produce debate. Now, in the last couple of years, I've gotten really into buying fresh produce. It just became, a habit. I completely have forgotten that frozen produce even exists, berries, frickin' broccoli, whatever. And I just kind of got out of the habit of cruising through the frozen food aisle. And so I wanted to talk to you guys about, is it worth it? Is it, grocery costs are rising. I mentioned that earlier when I was doing my little, spiel, but with consumers trying to seek, new avenues and new ways to stay healthy and also stay on budget, I thought we would talk about fresh produce versus fresh produce versus frozen produce. So, okay, so which is better? So let's go over the why fresh is better. So fresh is better in my opinion in these ways. And this is just like a pros and cons list. So the pros for fresh produce, it stays crunchy. Let's say in the case of broccoli, it doesn't turn army green when you cook it unless you overcook it. But it has better plate presentation and it looks better overall. It has a better plate presentation, better appeal with fresh. And if it counts, like if it's at a time where it counts, like, you got the boss coming over for dinner, fresh produce is the way to go, faux show. And some produce just tastes better. Like you guys are going to think I'm crazy, but I love okra. But I love it fresh versus frozen because it just gets too mushy when it's frozen, and it's already kind of an uphill battle with okra because it's got that little slime in it. So fresh okra for me tastes better. It's a little bit more crunchy. I mean, I will just saute it with some olive oil and pro seasoning all purpose. If you don't have that, salt and pepper is fine too. I like to cook it with stewed tomatoes. No, I like to cook it with crushed tomatoes. I don't ever keep stewed tomatoes in my house. I keep cans of crushed tomatoes in my pantry. If I ever want a red sauce or like even if I'm making let's say Indian food, like a lot of Indian recipes like tikka masala is crushed tomato, spices, and heavy cream. Boom, there's your tikka masala. So you don't need a jar mix if you keep crushed tomatoes handy in a can. I don't know, it's just one of those things that I just keep around the house. I always keep tomato paste as well. No matter what, I always have like a par stock in my pantry. It's my security blanket. Have a sip of the old Coke Zero. It's my go-go juice. It's the afternoon. I need a little pick-me-up. I know it's not good for you, but for God's sakes, guys, I don't eat carbs. I'm working out 5 days a week. I don't drink. I don't smoke. Give me something. I have to have something. Coke Zero. I mean, whatever. If it's that, that's fine. I'll die on that hill. Okay, so fresh. Also when you're cruising through the produce department, it's all kind of like out there. You can see it. You can see, oh, I'm going to grab some broccoli. I'm going to grab some potatoes. I'm going to get whatever. It's all right there. So it's easy to spot, right? And you can just throw it in your cart. So it's a little bit more convenient in that way. And, there's definitely a case for fresh produce. I mean, frozen tomatoes, I don't see it in my life, as a thing I'm gonna need. So it's not always like 100% one way and 100% or 100% the other way. It's not like, oh, we only eat frozen, we only eat fresh. I mean, whatever, you do whatever you want. It's America. I mean, it's still relatively free. Why frozen is better And I did a little deep dive. I read an article. The Journal of Agriculture and Food Chemistry did a study, and they're peer reviewed. So whenever you're looking at nutrition and anything related to health, you always want to look at peer reviewed articles. And you can Google it along with whatever you're looking for. For instance, you would say fresh produce versus frozen produce peer reviewed article, and the Googles will bring that up for you. You want to avoid people weirdos with podcasts. You want to avoid that, like you don't want to just take advice from just anyone. So when you're doing your research, make sure you are looking into peer reviewed articles. That never occurred to me until I went back to school, and I was like, oh yeah, I guess that's true. You can't just Google something and it's Bible. Like, that's it. Peer reviewed science is always best. So anyway, the Journal of Agriculture and Food Chemistry, they tested frozen versus fresh produce. They analyzed 4 vitamins in several fruits and vegetables, and they evaluated them to see the difference between fresh and frozen produce. Ascorbic acid, riboflavin, A, tocopherol, and B, beta carotene were evaluated in corn, carrots, broccoli, spinach, peas, green beans, strawberries, and blueberries. Samples of each commodity, each type of food, were harvested, processed, and analyzed for nutrient content at 3 storage times per treatment. So, meaning, I don't know exactly what they did. What they might have had, they harvested the corn, then they stored the corn, for 2 weeks, and then a month, and then 3 months. Maybe, I'm not sure, but it says 3 different times. So we're gonna speculate on that. Ascorbic acid showed no significant difference for 5 of the 8 commodities. It was higher in frozen samples than fresh for the remaining 3 commodities. So that's a point for frozen. Broccoli and peas showed higher in riboflavin for frozen. However, none of the other samples showed a significant difference. So, I mean, it's broccoli and peas had a little difference, the rest of them not. 3 commodities had higher levels of A, tocopherol in the frozen samples, while the remaining commodities showed no significant difference between fresh and frozen. Peas, carrots, and spinach were lower in beta carotene in the frozen samples, so that's a deduction for frozen, while green beans and spinach showed no significant difference between the 2 storage methods. The article goes on to say, overall, the vitamin content of frozen commodities was comparable to and occasionally higher than that of their fresh counterparts. Beta carotene, however, was found to decrease drastically in some commodities. So what's why would frozen be better? It's left on the plant for longer before harvesting. So some things some produce is harvested before it is fully ripened, and then it ripens along the way in transit. So if it's frozen foods, they're frozen at peak ripeness. And one other thing is nice, because we're trying to save money now, is that, like, is your produce is not, if it's in the freezer, it's not going to sit there and die in your produce drawer and stare at you while it slowly decomposes and judges you. So there's a case to be made for that in that regard. But now, that's to say, if you're eating frozen or purchasing frozen produce like broccoli and whatever, and it doesn't have salt in it, like, you don't want any preservatives in it. You just, if it should just say ingredients broccoli. Foods that have like sauces and things like that, sometimes the broccoli will have a cheese sauce. Obviously, that's got a lot of sodium and everything. So obviously, the fresh would be better than the broccoli with a cheese sauce. So, but what I've been doing in the last couple of weeks, I've been just walking around saying I'm in my frozen vegetable era, because I've been stocking the freezer with broccoli, because doing low carb and everything, it's good to have like a really easy vegetable ready to go that I can just throw in the microwave or throw in a saute pan, put some olive oil, keep it simple. Another thing is that, like, we don't realize how many nutrients are lost when in transport. So for instance, I harvest my broccoli, and it comes from, let's say, because you want to eat seasonal vegetables. So I live in Florida. The season for growing broccoli is winter, right? I mean, the season for growing broccoli anywhere is winter. It's a cold weather cruciferous vegetable, right? So we live in the northern hemisphere. Uh, so it's off season in the southern hemisphere. In reverse for us in the summertime when broccoli is not in season in the northern hemisphere, we get it from the southern hemisphere. So if it's harvested, let's say I'm just gonna pick a place. Let's say it's harvested in Chile, right? And then it's cut from the plant. It's put in a box. Box goes on a truck. Truck goes to a warehouse. From the warehouse it goes onto a plane. From a plane, or maybe it goes on a shipping container. Comes across, goes into another warehouse, goes into maybe another warehouse. Then it goes on a truck, and then it gets to Publix or your grocery store. That's a tremendous amount of transport, and a lot of nutrients are lost along the way. So I always think about like Mario, like Super Mario, and you like slap him around and the coins come out, bing, 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 bing. Like that's all the nutrients. So I just kind of think of it that way. So it's always better to eat foods that are in season in your region. And the closer you are to your food source, the more nutrients you maintain or you retain. Um, so obviously local is better. If you can get local produce, I mean that's the best. That's the best of the best of the best. I used to live on a in Midtown in Tallahassee here in a little bungalow with before me and my wife were married. It was the cutest little bungalow. It was like built in the 20s or 30s. It was so cool. It had a really huge yard, but there was an empty lot on our block, and these girls, women, while they were in college, I think they went to FSU. I'm not 100%. They were very young. They were squatters on that land, and they made an urban garden, and it was cool, and it was called 10 Speed Greens, and they started selling their greens to the local restaurants and stuff. And we used to be able to like walk the dog down there, and you'd go on a Saturday, and I think Thursday and Saturday was their farm stand, and you go, okay, I want like a pound of beets, and they go, oh, beets, and they go walk out there, and they pull them out of the ground and freaking sell you the beets, man. Urban farms are the best. And anyway, they ended up making a deal with who owned the land. They were actually in Huffington Post because they started selling calendars of themselves naked on farm equipment. And that's how they raised the money to be able to stay on that land. They called it farmer tans. That's so funny. I mean, that's freaking gutsy, man. Right on. Get it done. So they did that. And then a restaurant owner here in town, well, it was bought by another guy. He ran it for a while. And then a restaurant owner here in town bought it, and he ran it for a while. And he was using that to make, use the produce for his restaurant, which was so cool because they had the freshest food. The salad was so good all the time. But anyway, I don't know what it is now. I don't think anybody's there now. I haven't really heard anything about it. But at any rate, it was very cool to kind of see that. So obviously, local is the best. And if you can't get local, then you can get definitely learn kind of like growing periods. What you can Google it. You can say, hey, what's in season right now, and it'll tell you. The Googles will tell you what produce is in season. Like for instance, right now we're in spring. And so berries are you're gonna get slapped in the face with berries very soon. It's gonna be berry explosion everywhere, especially here in Florida because we grow berries grow very well here. So it's berry season. It's the end of cruciferous season, so the end of kale season. All the greens, collard greens, turnip greens, all that kind of stuff. So it's the end of the cold season. And so then we'll get into the summer veg, and here the summer veg is like okra, which I love. Okra, I love me some okra season. Okra grows so good in Florida. So it'll be okra season, and peas. Anyway, my point is like this. Like don't be afraid of frozen vegetables. Like that's the bottom line. Don't be afraid of frozen vegetables. They have great the nutrients are great. They are pretty much comparable. Sometimes they're higher, sometimes they're a smidgen lower, but it's never a nosedive where it's like, holy crap, I should not be eating this. It's just garbage. Unless there is salt and sauces and all kinds of preservatives in with the frozen vegetables. Buy a bag of broccoli, buy a bag of broccoli, make sure it says contents broccoli, you know? Um, and this way, it's great to keep in your freezer and break in case of emergency for when you want to make things when you don't have fresh around. It's perfectly fine. And the other point is just buy what's in season. If you want to maintain good high nutrient dense food, buying broccoli from that's been transported from Chile may not be as nutrient dense as even the broccoli that is in the freezer. Let me know what you guys think. Are you into frozen vegetables? Are you like Nikki, or you don't know what you're talking about? We're just gonna stay with fresh. Like what do you guys got going on? What do you guys think? Let me know. You can email me at nikkitalksfood@gmail.com. That's Nikki with 2 Ks. And let's take a break. The story of how I started pro seasoning is this. I have for my entire career made an all-purpose spice blend that I have just kept next to the stove, whether it was cooking on a private yacht, teaching culinary school, or just cooking at home. I've always had this all-purpose spice blend that I just knock together and use it in order to save time. That way I'm not like salt, pepper, pepper. When I taught culinary school, it would get stolen out of my lab all the time because I'd make a quart container of it. So I was like, well, this must be good. And I used it all the time. My parents called it secret sauce, even though it's spice. And they would always request that I make it for them. Finally, I just gave them the recipe and they started making it for their neighbors. And then they started liking it. So then I said, all right, we're putting this in a jar. And that's how I started pro seasoning. Made by a pro, so you can cook like a pro. My all-purpose spice blend has garlic, it has paprika, salt, white pepper. It has not just any salt, Himalayan pink salt, and the only anti-caking agent is ground rice, so it is all natural. There is no silicone dioxide. After that, I came up with my pro seasoning barbecue, and this is made with coffee, got a little zing to it. It's got chilies, it's got loads of garlic, a little bit of brown sugar, and it is fantastic. If you are a pellet grill enthusiast like I have recently become, you gotta try this. It's also great just dusted on chicken wings and thrown into the air fryer, drizzled with a little bit of honey, and then bam, you've got a very delicious snack or dinner that's on the fly. So I've done all the work for you because I've been cooking for 20 years. Newest flavor is pro seasoning steak. It's made with porcini mushroom. You're going to love it. It is my opus to a great steak. It's got a little bit of tarragon. It's got some Himalayan pink salt. And again, the only anti-caking agent is ground rice. So what are you waiting for? Head to chefnikki.net and try it today. Okay, I want to talk to you guys about menu planning. So if you're watching on, I think on Spotify, you can see my videos, but if you're watching on YouTube, you can see my little menu here. But if you're not, if you're listening, I'm holding up this is like a dry erase menu planner. It's magnetic and it has Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all the way to Saturday, a big box, and you stick this on your fridge and you can plan your menus this way. And what's cool about this is that you can sit down like whatever day of the week works well for you. You can take everybody in the house's schedule into account and say, okay, Sunday, maybe everybody's off on Sunday, and you say, okay, Sunday I'm gonna do a roasted chicken, so I'm gonna do a whole roast chicken. I'm gonna do potatoes and veg. I'm going to do it in one pot. I'll do it in a cast iron skillet, and that way it's one and done. And that way I don't need to worry about, whatever. If you have leftovers from that chicken, then guess what? For lunch, you can make chicken salad. Right? If you don't have leftovers, you can forget about that chicken salad. But you maybe you have like some of the potatoes left, or you can make potato salad, whatever. If you're gonna make one chicken, maybe make 2 chickens, and then that way you have plenty of food left over. Because we want to avoid, although I love a rotisserie chicken from the grocery store, we do want to avoid like all that sodium and unnecessary stuff. Like it is convenient, but you can roast your own chicken. I have faith in you guys. I have recipes on my website for whole roasted chicken, spatchcock in a cast iron skillet. You can do it on a sheet tray. It doesn't matter. Roasted chicken is very easy to make. So let's say that that's Sunday, right? Monday, Billy has practice. We're going to do hot dogs and whatever, sauerkraut and whatever. We'll do some oven fries. Okay. Because Billy has practice. But then this way we're not going through the drive-through. And this is not in no way, in shape or form, to judge anybody whatsoever. I mean, if you want to hit that drive-through, God bless. But if you're looking for something to avoid going through that drive-through, I'm your guy. Okay, so now Tuesday, we're gonna do pork chops with rice. The sauce, we're gonna make an apple chutney, which is on my website, and we're gonna do broccoli. But the thing is, we're going to make too much rice on purpose. Because on Wednesday, we're going to make chicken fried rice. All right. So now I've got 4 days planned. I've got 3 left. Okay. Chicken fried rice probably takes, literally takes minutes. It's and you can bulk it up by adding an egg to it. I love adding egg. When I started adding egg to my fried rice, I was like, this is it. This is the path. This is what fried rice is supposed to taste like. I have a recipe on my website for this. So I'm not just leaving you like kind of flapping in the breeze, and I'm not trying to be like, go to my website and get all my stuff. But like, it's there if you need it. chefnikki.net. Use it as a resource if you want. Okay, so we've had roast chicken, we've had hot dogs, and they can be turkey dogs, they could be freaking uncured, good, healthy dogs. Maybe instead of hot dogs, maybe you do chicken sausage, maybe you do chicken and feta sausage if you're like, oh, I want to keep it healthy, whatever. Just something easy because Billy has practice, and we got to shove that hot dog down his throat before he gets to soccer. So next we're going to have, Tuesday, we'll have pork chops with rice, apple chutney, and broccoli. Wednesday, we're gonna make chicken fried rice out of our leftover rice, and that brings us to Thursday. And maybe there's something we need something quick and easy. And if you need quick and easy on Thursday, you move the chicken fried rice to Thursday, and you do something a little bit that takes a little bit more time on whatever. I don't know what I'm saying. You move it to Thursday, you make something that takes a little more time on Wednesday. That's what I was saying. Okay, so let's see. What's next? Are we eating fish? Do the kids eat fish? What do we want? I have a very easy recipe. We're gonna do ground turkey, cowboy spaghetti. Very easy to make. Recipes on my website. It's called the recipe is called spaghetti western, but it's cowboy spaghetti. Very easy to make. If not, whatever. Ground turkey bolognese. Okay. Pretty simple. Friday, we know it's pizza because this is America. Okay. This is America. We have pizza on Friday. Okay. That's what we do. We have pizza on Friday. Not Monday. Friday is pizza day. Saturday, we leave open. And we say, whoop, free space. Okay. So now when I go to the grocery store, I know that I am going to get 2 chickens. I'm going to get a pack of hot dogs if I don't already have it. Or maybe the sausage or whatever you want. I'm going to have rice. Rice is just something you keep in your pantry at all times, right? And I only am buying the things that I need, plus maybe things for lunches. And you can even write the types of lunches that everybody will eat. Chicken salad. You can write down, maybe Billy likes peanut butter and jelly, whatever, give him his peanut butter and jelly, some snacks or whatever. But this way you're not flapping in the breeze going, oh, I got to buy all these vegetables, all this protein, whatever, and not knowing what you're going to do. Plus you slap this guy on the fridge on Sunday or whatever day it is that you menu plan. And then speak now or forever hold your peace. If anybody has a problem with what's on the menu, they can tell you then, and then you can swap things around or whatever. Or, oh, Mom, I have whatever. Okay, cool. Well, we'll change that to this. It's okay. We'll just swap them around. But this way you're just buying the things you need. And that is really, first of all, I feel that it takes the stress. Oh, this is I'm caught. I feel that it takes the stress out of, and by the way, this is like a little paint pen. It's like a little, little paint pen. They call them like chalk pens or whatever, but it's a little paint pen. It's like dry erase. I feel that when you menu plan like that and it's stuck on the fridge, it you know while you're at work what you're going to make later that day. It just helps things kind of fall in line. Uh Plus your critical thinking is already thinking what to do first and all that kind of stuff. And so I feel like it just takes the stress out of what's for dinner, because as a professional chef and as somebody who teaches people how to cook, one of the number one things people ask me about is how to make easy dinners. And in my opinion, it's not always like the matter of like making an easy dinner. It's a matter of planning to make these easy dinners. And now I've got 7 days and I know exactly what I'm making for all. You can, I mean, you can switch it around if you want. You can make things, easier or more complicated, whatever you want. But at least you have the bones of what you need, and you're not out there going, "Ugh, what am I gonna make for dinner?" Everybody's always pissed off with just put it on the schedule and don't make it too complicated. Everybody, I mean, I'm perfectly happy. Last night we did turkey picadillo, which is like, it's usually made with beef, and it's a very simple, ground meat of some sort, some crushed tomato. I put some cumin, I put some olives, onion, a little garlic, and then boom, that's it. My wife ate it with a rice. I had it like on a little lettuce boat with a buttload of sour cream and cheese, and everybody's happy. It doesn't need to be, where you're stressing out and all that kind of stuff. So that's my advice to you: to number one, lower cost on your grocery bill. Number two, give yourself some grace and less stress. Also, it may make you like more excited to, once you have like a plan, it kind of gets you ramped up to go, oh man, we're gonna make whatever, turkey tacos or whatever it is. It will give you a little bit of breathing room to enjoy what you're doing for dinner. You can look forward to it. Maybe you love fish tacos. I have a great recipe for air fried fish tacos on my website as well. Maybe you want to make more fish. Like, there's a great way to make more fish. So check it out. Think about it. Maybe it's something you add. Maybe you think I'm full of shit. Whatever. Okay, last up on the docket. I don't know if you guys have seen the new Meghan Markle Netflix show. I'm not one to, I don't like to like pull other women down. Obviously not. That's not to say that I can't be a little catty in it every now and again. And I'm just like sipping the tea, and I'm just like, it's pop culture, and so I want to talk about it. So I only watched the first 2 episodes, and it's lifestyle. It's Megan, picking berries on her property that she's going to make into this luscious jam. And that's always nice. I mean, like, food porn is always nice, where it's like, oh man, look at this, it's you see this lifestyle, and you're like, wow, that is very cool. I think, my opinion, and this is just my opinion, and I'm not like trying to whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm just a weirdo with a podcast. I think it's a little out of touch, because it, I don't know, there's a secret sauce missing, but maybe it's just because I only watched the first 2 episodes and I didn't get too far in. But the first episode is, she's like hanging out with her best friend, who's her whatever hairstylist or whatever, and she did talk a lot about hospitality, because he was staying over and stuff, and that part I really thought it was super cute. And she did like an easy pasta dish with him, and they made a little cake and stuff, and it was cute. It was nothing groundbreaking, but maybe just kind of like a reminder that, you know, homemade stuff is good and yummy, and hospitality is always when you're staying in somebody's house and they go that little extra, they do a little extra. Like she made a little bath salt for him, which I thought was cool. She made him snacks, which if you ever stayed over at somebody's house and like you're like starving or you need a water or whatever, and you're like you don't want to like rock the boat too much, or go digging in their fridge. Some people have different eating habits. Maybe they're snacky at night. Who knows? But it's nice to think about the person that is staying with you and say, like, what do they need? I think that's very mindful. So that I'm super into. I love hospitality. I love going that extra mile. I used to make a basket of toiletries for my guest room, of like mini toiletries, and in case somebody forgot something. I've gotten away from that, but I think I would revisit, you know, doing a little toiletry basket and some snacks for when people stay over. I think that's really nice. So definitely gonna give her that. I'm gonna give her that. Though my other opinion of it is okay, so we watched the second episode, and Minnie Kaling, who is from the Mindy Project. She was a writer on The Office. Hilarious. She's a hilarious human being. So she came to stay with Meghan. I don't know. They were like planning. I guess she brought her kids, and their kids were all going to play together, and they were going to plan a garden party. So they planned a little garden party for the kids, I guess, which was nice. And the garden party, it was like making little tea sandwiches and things like that. And some of the things, like I noticed, like her knife skills are not great. Like it looks like she's gonna chop her fingers off. So I would definitely say, Meghan of Sussex, if you need knife skill training, I'm happy to help you. And this is not a catty and snarky way of telling you. I'm just telling you, like, hey, I'll help you. And I did notice that the way that she was like cutting the sandwiches. So in other words, Martha Stewart and the Barefoot Contessa, they both had careers in catering before they had shows. And so their knife skills and their kitchen knowledge was very good before they started giving people's recipes and stuff like that. But what I noticed is, like, for instance, it's like so stupid, but when you put together a tea sandwich, you put the bread down, you put your spread, you put your filling. So let's say it's like a herb cream cheese with cucumber, right? It's bread, spread, cucumber, spread, and then you make a sandwich, and then you cut it out with whatever shape you want. So if you want to cut it into like triangles, you cut it assembled. You never cut, like, you don't cut the bread and then cut the vegetables. Like, so I noticed that was the way that she was like putting things together, and I was like, so that's not the way you do that. But that's not to say there's not more than one way to skin a cat, because there is, of course. Like, you can whatever. If you want to take 6 hours to put together a tea sandwich, by all means. But just in restaurants and catering, so we don't have time for that. So some of the things, like the methods, are a little amateur, and that's okay. That this is like a lifestyle thing. It's a passion project, I guess. I don't know. The other thing that was of note, and it's been making like, it's gotten a little bit viral, is that, so Mindy is like, they're both standing in the kitchen, and she's like, I can't believe Meghan Markle. And Meghan stops her right there and goes, you keep calling me Markle, but I'm Sussex now. And goes into this whole like diatribe about how lovely it is that her and her kids, and I guess her husband, have the same last name, and that last name is Sussex. And the moment she said, you keep calling me Markle, but I'm Sussex now, the energy in the room, it was like, it's all just, I mean, it must have seemed, it was like less than a tenth of a second before the next word came out of her mouth. But that less than tenth of a second between her and Mindy Kaling must have seemed if you were standing in that room, it must have seemed like 10,000 years. Like, I would have been caving in on myself. I don't like awkwardness. I mean, it's funny. Awkwardness is funny. Um, but when you're there and the awkwardness is happening in front of you, holy shit, nothing nothing would make me want to turn into a lamp fixture faster than that being in that room at that moment. So that was weird, but I just think they probably should have like stopped and refilmed that part because it just didn't. So she's having like Megan Sussex is having a hard time with people's perception of her. And I don't think that moment in the show did her any favors. I'm just going to say that. It probably would have been smarter to refilm that part of the show. Like, hey, you're producing it. Like, just stop. Oh, let's start, hey, maybe that doesn't come off as well as you think it does. Let's start over, because when you don't, it was clear that Mindy and Megan don't know each other. It was a weird way to deliver that piece of information to a stranger. Instead of saying like, oh, hey, I'm not sure if you know this, but I changed my name and it's this now. And I loved my name before, but I really love it now because it matches my kids. Whatever, that's fine. But like, to be like, you keep doing this, but I'm this, I'm that, is like that sliver of time. I was like, oh man, are we getting a peek behind the curtain? Like, what's there? That's a little spot right there. That was a little spot that we don't want to. I'm not touching that spot. No way. And so that's my review. I've only watched 2 episodes. There's not a lot of groundbreaking stuff, but it's pop culture. It's worth watching. I'll continue to watch it. Everything anytime something awkward happens or something out of pocket or out of touch happens, we think it's hilarious and like we're just keep the party going. Who cares? It's funny. Like, I don't think she needs to be like, let's not cancel the girl or whatever. Whatever. Like, it's just people doing people stuff. No. This show is called With Love, Megan. And so yeah, so that's the show. I don't know, check it out if you want or don't. It doesn't really matter in this world. But if you need a couple giggles or want to see something to watch. Other than that, that's it for today's show. If you like my show, don't forget to subscribe on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to all 3. That's fantastic. Don't forget to email me with your questions. Let's talk about stuff that you want to talk about. You can email me at nikkitalksfood@gmail.com. That's Nikki with 2 Ks. And as always, check out my pro seasoning at chefnikki.net. That's Nikki with 2 Ks. My spices are all natural. We do not use any silicone dioxide like some other jokers do. And a little goes a long way. The flavor is awesome, so check it out. Thanks, guys. Do you want to talk about food? I want to talk about food. Let's talk about food. What else are we going to do? We got nothing else to do. Let's go.